here this morning doing some service work on this D160, and it brought me to a problem that just kind of reminded me a lot about what everyone's talking about, how their equipment is just failing sooner and sooner after they buy it new. Now, you used to be able to go out and buy a tiller or something like that in the 70s or 80s, and that thing, we work on them today, you know, probably dozens every year that are perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with them because they've been taken care of. Now they say on these things, don't change the oil. Yeah, don't change the oil because we want to sell you a new one in 2 or 3 years when it blows up, right? Just add. You see that all the time. I'm going to show you another way that Briggs Stratton is running a big scam. Now, you can call it a scam, you can call it corporate greed, you can call it whatever you like, but them going from a filtration that worked perfectly fine to going to something that does not work whatsoever and that allows stuff in the intake, I would call that a scam myself. What do you guys think? Thanks for watching. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Let me show you what we found. Again, this is a John Deere D160. It's got the 25 horsepower, 724 cc extended life series, private labeled by John Deere, looks like. When we look at this air filter, this is something that was installed, looks like about 50 hours ago from what it says on it. It says 5 of 21, but I see ones that come back in the next year and they have the same issue. As we're looking at this, that should not be that loose. Now, it is kind of tapered for a little bit there, but moving this up and down, you can clearly see that's not going to seal. It can move both ways. That means it's not sealing on the inside there where it should. That's a big issue. That's why it's building stuff up all around here. It's pulling those fine particles down through. That's why it's all along the intake there. That's not a good design, and they had a pretty good design originally that wasn't much different. Now, the carburetor is basically unchanged. They've done a few modifications, but nothing that I would see why they'd go to a new style unless they wanted to sell you a very expensive filter, A, and a very expensive engine, B, when it failed. Let's take a look at a few other designs that have this same issue. This one here, the customer brought in about 2.5 weeks ago. We tuned it up. They haven't picked it up yet. But as I move this, you can see how loose that is. It's not up there tightly on the top. You can move that all around. If I pull it off and put it back on, it's all the way around right now. It doesn't feel tight whatsoever. Yes, it pushes it up towards that way, but then that deviation happens and it deforms once it's been sitting there and goes wherever it wants to. It pulls debris down in that same location. This is kind of the same design, except it's a little bit different filter. That's a brand new filter. It fit tight on there just a couple weeks ago when we installed it. This is one of the Briggs Intech. It's private label power built on this. It looks like the screw is not installed to hold the carburetor air intake to the housing, which does push it up against a little better, but this thing is extremely loose. I guess it's actually fitting a lot better than those other ones were. Briggs Stratton Platinum 22 horse. Looks like we just did it a couple days ago. Seems to fit, well, I was going to say it seems to fit pretty tightly, but there's plenty of deviation there that can allow air in. That's not what you want. Should not do that after a short period. And again, this is a brand new filter. Imagine it sitting for a year, 2 years. How loose those are. It's going to be as loose as that one that we just took a look at. But it's already failing when we just installed it. And this is an OEM filter from Briggs Stratton. Briggs Stratton Professional 24 horse. You can see everything right here around the intake where it's pulling all that down in. That's not going to go there or down into here unless it's pulling air from there. You can see that very clearly when moving it. That is not airtight, sealed around that intake. Not good for this mower. it really makes sense that they say they don't make them like they used to, you know. And this is part of the reason why. It's not specifically that they've made anything different about the engine, other than made different little things fail that's going to cost you money in the long run. Let's take a look at all the rest of them. Kind of the same design on this Intech. These engines are everywhere. We've got them all throughout the shop here. 20 horse over there. All down to these smaller ones, 17.5, takes a little bit different filter. Kind of the same design though. Nice and loose, so that's good. They're almost all like that. When the design for these Intechs used to be something like this John Deere here, they used to be something like this. That was a more reliable design, but they took it away because they want premature failure. Now this makes sure everything's sealed all the way along and that nothing gets in the intake. The other design does not. Out of everything we have here, if I look around, pretty much everything over here has kind of that same design on it. Looks like the John Deere back there in the corner, zero turn. It's got the design kind of like that LA 110 or whatever we just looked at. We've got Craftsman zero turn. This one still seemed to be fitting halfway tightly when we were doing it. It still was a little bit loose though, and a little bit of deviation from true formed. Same design on this John Deere. And then the Craftsman, John Deere's, and the Murray back there that we just looked at. These are some of the most popular Briggs Stratton air filters on their newer models. Now, is this the same material as what everybody else is using? It doesn't really feel like it, but you know, some of your filters and stuff, even from Kohler or from Toro or from anybody else, they're the same design anymore. I don't know that that makes sense. Is it all planned obsolescence? Is that what they want? Are they making them to fail with this design in general? Because that's what everything is going to. These filters with the two filter system are definitely a better filter than anything else out there, don't get me wrong. But something small like this on the Briggs Stratton side, they deform with this foam way too easily to accurately filter an engine out. All you're going to do is replace the engine sooner because this filter is not filtering like it should. If we still had the old pleated filters like they made, they would last a lot longer because it's not getting as much through in the intake. That's why we have issues with these things. That's why you should change your oil very often. It's engulfing materials on all these new engines. To me, that's by design. That's not an accident. You don't change it from something that works well to something that doesn't work well, especially with the technology we have today, without knowing that that's going to make you more money in the long run. Don't get me wrong. I know Briggs is in a bad spot right now, and they're having some issues, but this transition's been going on for a while, and it's not in the right direction. I don't know if this is the other companies following also, or if it's just a coincidence. What do you think? Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed our content.